and welcome to Guelph GradCast, the only podcast dedicated to bringing you real conversations with real University of Guelph grads. I'm your host, Ryan, and today on the podcast, I'm joined by Ethan Luce. Ethan graduated from the University of Guelph just this year with a bachelor's degree in bioresource management, majoring in environmental management. He's also a singer-songwriter, did a fellowship with Engineers Without Borders in Uganda, where he lived with a retired witch doctor, walked in a fashion show, and recorded and released a song with local artists. In his final year at U of G, he interned at the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development, and just when he thought he couldn't possibly get any cooler, for 2 years he hosted open mics at the Bullring. Welcome to the podcast, Ethan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Did I miss anything? I feel like you've had more experiences in your undergrad than I have in my whole life.
Well, thank you. I just definitely feel lucky for some of those experiences. I mean, all of them. No, I think you covered it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So take it back a little bit. Why did you choose Guelph, and why did you choose the program that you did?
Yeah, so I guess I'll give a little bit of my undergrad history. I started at McMaster in chemical engineering, and I was just like, it was great. I had a really fun first year, but I just felt that like it wasn't exactly for me in terms of the program, and I just didn't have the work-life balance that I want. Like I was really grinding, like pulling all-nighters way too much, and it wasn't sustainable. And then when COVID happened, I took that as an opportunity to just like touch grass and get more in touch with myself. And so I dropped out. I really dedicated myself to making music for 2 years. I released the EP and did some live shows. And then after some soul searching and living in Tofino in Western Canada and a little bit of travel, I decided, okay, I want to go back to school. I want to make my mom happy. So I came back, and when I was browsing, just bioresource management seemed like the right fit. And I always told myself I wasn't going to go to Guelph because my whole family went to Guelph. And I was like, I'm going to be different. Like my brother, my mom, my dad, brother, and sister, they all went to Guelph for good reason. It's just a really nice vibe here. It's a really good school. And I found that work-life balance that I was looking for here.
Yeah.
And there's just more of a culture of getting involved, and people are very active and love being outside. The outdoors club and the music community, especially in Guelph, is so vibrant. Yeah. So
it wasn't necessarily new for you because of your whole family. Are you from Guelph?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm from Orangeville, but I had heard of stories about University of Guelph through my siblings and all that.
Okay, and so what exactly is bioresource management? And so what was your intent for taking that program, and what was your kind of goal?
Yeah, that's a question I get a lot because people don't really know that degree. It's kind of a smaller niche degree. Basically, I would say it's a really nice mix of environmental science, geography, economics, and political science, and agricultural science. It's so broad, which I love because I'm a little indecisive, but also I just like learning about a breadth of topics. So I really got to do that in this degree. And one thing I loved about it especially is it's so flexible. Mm-hmm. It's really like a choose your own adventure. You have so many electives you can choose from and space to make it your own. The goal of the degree is to learn how and contribute to how we can better manage our natural resources in society, whether that's fossil fuels or soil, food. Yeah.
And then so in environmental management, you majored in that. So is it more specific then when you in terms of the actual major?
There's still a lot of room to adhere to your interests, but I'd still say it was still a combination of all those things.
Yeah. And were you once you kind of got into the program, once you kind of were going to classes and meeting your professors and your classmates, did it meet your expectations, or was there anything that was surprising, good or bad? Oh wow, I didn't expect to learn about this. This is really cool, or this is more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was surprised again by how flexible it was, because in engineering, it was you have 6 courses every semester, and 5 of them are already decided for you. So I really appreciated that. Yeah, I liked the collaborative nature of a lot of my courses too. And the professors I found were overall, I'd say, just more engaging. Mm-hmm. It was just, you could tell a lot of them loved what they were talking about and were very well versed and like knew how to communicate their expertise to students, which sometimes I feel like isn't always the case. Like sometimes like a professor is so brilliant, but like teaching it in a way that engaging like isn't always a skill that professors have. So I appreciated that a lot about my professors in BBRM.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes they're like almost so smart they don't realize that maybe other people don't understand it as well as they are. So they're kind of teaching it as through their own lens, as opposed to like an 18-year-old undergrad who has no idea what they're talking about. Like outside of academia, did you find you like enjoyed the actual campus culture, or like, you know, the food, or like even off campus, like the city of Guelph itself?
Definitely. Yeah, I love Guelph as a city. Like I graduated in the fall and I'm still here. I'm gonna be traveling this next year, but I plan on like coming back. It's just like a really perfect sized town. I feel like it's like not too small that there's nothing to do, but it's not too big that like you just feel like, I don't know. Like
you don't feel that grind of the city. Right?
Yeah, you don't feel the grind of the city. And you feel like you're part of a community. Especially if you're going out and you're like making friends and you're joining clubs or like volunteering in your community. Like it's really easy. I find people are open to connecting here. Yeah, and the music community, like again at University of Guelph, it's just like so vibrant. I have so many friends. Like these are some friends of mine too. Shebad, it's a band that like started at the Bullring, and now they're like touring the States. And like, and another like group of friends, they have a band called Purr that started at the Bullring. And I remember the first time they played, like I was like hosting the open mic, and I like called them up, and they like killed it. And now they're 2 years later, they just played at Hillside Music Festival and like going on tour. And it's just like this community of like bands and musicians and like house concerts and like open jams downtown Guelph at like the Brothers Brewing, which has been like really great for supporting the music community as well. But I will say the Bullring, like as a space, for those of you that don't know, the Bullring is like a on-campus cafe/bar, and on Wednesdays every week they have open mic night, which is I had the pleasure of hosting for 2 years. Highlight of my time at University of Guelph. But like so many people go every week, and it just like built this sense of community. And that space, like shout out to Andrew and the management there. Like they've really protected it as a place where that's possible, like community around music and also like all types of creative events. And that's something that I feel like is missing in a lot of schools, and a lot of artists are like really hungry for, is that like artistic community. I think that's really special, and the Bullring like deserves its flowers for that.
So how did you become, what was the kind of journey to becoming a host for Open Mic Night? Were you just a performer and someone was like, hey, do you want to also host? Or?
So because I took 2 years off, I came back to Guelph as a mature student, and like my first year at Guelph, it was like the first year after COVID, and I just went like I tried to go every week, you know, and perform. And my friend Kat Steves, who actually hosts the open mic at Envy, which is where I'm a server now, she was the host at the Bullring at the time, and she wanted to just move on, and she, I guess like through us becoming friends and me being an older student, being a solo musician, it just made sense for me to take over for her. Yeah.
What do you think makes a good open mic host? Because in some ways you want to keep things moving.
That's a really good question.
You want to, you know, maybe comment on the performance, but at the same time you want to be supportive, right? You don't want to be like, that was the worst, don't ever come back, right?
Yeah, no, it's just like you have to be contagiously positive, supportive. Like really, there's a lot of people who go to those open mics who are first time performers, and it's like they're nervous as heck. Like they're so nervous, and you just gotta be like that calm vibe, like I got you, like what do you need? You're gonna kill it. And I feel like also just engaging with like when you're not up on stage, like setting things up, just like engaging with everyone in the audience. Like that was my favorite part. I would just like flutter from like homie to homie, like catching up with them over the week, and then it, like introduce people to other people. I feel like the host can really play such a role in like facilitating the connections. Like,
and I know you mentioned a couple bands, but were there any like really standout ones that you like still remember?
Yeah,
good or bad?
Yeah, Purr for sure. Like, PRRR is their band name, and they're so good. Yeah, always just like brings such a smile to my face watching them play. There were so many, like I could go on and on. Like I still have some of the set lists, like I think in my memory box, just because I'm like I want to remember all these names, like these band names and like performers' names when I'm looking back in my experience. But She Bad for sure. I wasn't around when they started at the Bullring, but I saw them perform, and I put a band together. Like the Bullring would do Battle of the Bands too. I put a band together called Cactus Farm, and like it was one of my highlights. Like highlights was we won Battle of the Bands, and it was just like so epic. Like I remember we all just like jumped up and we're like, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I think the Bullring is. I've talked to a few grads now, and I'm a Guelph grad too, and it was such a central point because it is on campus, but it's like a little like. It's got such an interesting vibe. Like it's with all like the mismatched couches and all like the vintage tables, and it just feels like a quintessential university coffee shop in a sense. Even though I know it's more than that, but it's a great place. So we've talked a lot about Guelph and the campus. So let's take it like off campus a little bit. Tell me about Engineers Without Borders Canada and how you became involved with that, and how did you end up living with a witch doctor?
So my stint with Engineers Without Borders started when I was at McMaster. I was just played like a little executive role there. And I had a friend who did this like fellowship in Uganda before COVID. And I was like, what? That's so cool. I want to do that one day. And then like COVID happened and I came back to Guelph and I saw these people like painting on the cannon, and I saw it said EWB, like for Engineers Without Borders. I was like, oh, like there's a chapter here. And so I just went up to them while they were painting and I said, do you know if this like fellowship's still happening in Uganda? And they were like, yeah, it is. The applications are due like in a week and no one's applied yet. And I was like, say less, I'm flying.
Yeah. And
so I whipped together my application. Like no one else applied from the University of Guelph. Like, and you never know, like for like you just gotta shoot your shot for some of these things. And I feel like a lot of people, when I tell them about this experience, they're like, it must have been so competitive to like get into that role. But like sometimes you just gotta like find the opportunities and then shoot your shot. And like you never know, it might be no one else applying. And there were like people from other schools that like I did have to, I guess, compete against.
Yep.
But it's really like each school nominates one person to go on this fellowship, and I got nominated for Guelph. That's how I got started.
What did you do once you're there? Like, what's kind of the ethos of it?
It was accelerated innovation program, and it's very you could tell it was just like such a thoughtful program. Like all the training that went into the lead up before you like left, it was all about like just like gaining a bird's eye view perspective on like topics like volunteerism and like being mindful about like going into these communities and not doing it in a way that's like with a white savior complex and just being like, yo, I have all these great ideas, I'm from Canada, like listen to me, like we're gonna build this well and then we're gonna leave and then like the well's gonna break and then you're gonna have the same problem. It was very, very intentional, which like I appreciated and learned so much from. But once we were in country, we were put into teams there's 5 Canadian students and then 8 female Ugandan students. And the intention of that is like just women in STEM in Uganda don't get enough opportunities. So Engineers Without Borders did a good job of making that possible. And we did a week in like the capital, just doing some training. And then we took a 6-hour bus ride to this like little tiny village in like this kind of like dry Saharan type environment. And I still remember like clear as day, we pull up to this welcome ceremony, and a bunch of us like had gone out to like a club like in Kampala the night before, so we were all like kind of groggy and like what's going on, and we pull up to this field and there's like 200 people and people just like playing on like drums and then like all these kids like dancing, and we get off the bus and everyone's just dancing and they like pull us in and like we start dancing together, and I'm just like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
And then they sit us down in these chairs and they do this whole ceremony. Like they had kids like playing like these super cool indigenous Ugandan instruments, and then like choreographed dance performances, like the local like police and politicians like said something, and then we got matched up with our families.
Okay.
And I remember like being called up to my homestay family. So we all stayed in a homestay. Like I stayed, one Canadian would stay with like one of the Ugandan students, and we got put in a house, like with no, like none of the program supervisors were there. It was just like you, your homestay partner, and the family. But anyway, I remember like getting called up to my family and like seeing this just like Goliath of a man, like 6'7", like 250 pounds, like 70-year-old like man who looked like he had just been through like, he's just been through wars, like his face. And I was like shaking my boots. I was like, oh my God. And he just pulls me in. He's like, and I was like, okay, this can be great.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine that could be like overwhelming. But that's really cool.
Yeah. To kind of, I guess, to sum up the program, like we were in these teams, and our job over the 2 months in the village was to first like interview as many people as we could, mothers, teachers, politicians, like business owners, see what some of the main challenges were, and then develop like a social enterprise, like a business or an innovation to address that issue. And each team had a different theme, like clean water, clean energy, food security, and my team was clean energy. Yeah, it was really fun to get to like really good experience getting to communicate with stakeholders, like with all the friction that comes with like being from different cultures and like communication issues. It's just a really good experience, and living with that family was amazing.
And based on the way you're kind of describing, I'm assuming it was like something you cherish. It's like a positive experience.
100%.
Right?
I still like am digesting it.
So I'm like, in terms of advice for like other students, I think a big thing would be like to actually try and do stuff that's not just in a classroom, right? Because it gives you a bigger perspective and helps you in the long term for sure. Yeah. Which I'm wondering, did that experience also lead to you to decide to become involved with the United Nations, the International Fund for Agricultural Development?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that it's so important to seek out those other opportunities, because like a lot of people are saying, like students that I know, that the job market's quite tough right now. And like those, just like being proactive and like really like thinking about what your interests are and trying new things. Like you might not think like you're interested in like being on a student council or all these or like, I don't know, just like different clubs. But if you try it, like you develop a community, you might develop a new interest, you might find a job opportunity. Like that EWB experience, it was like a huge asset for applying to the United Nations International Fund for Agricultural Development, because I was like not many students have experience living in a developing country, like doing kind of international development work on the ground. And so I was really lucky that they like my supervisor Rachel at IFAD like kind of saw this potential for an opportunity for me to see the other side of international development, which is the NGO side, like, and the like United Nations side, which is all more the like the behind the scenes, I guess. Like they're on the front lines as well, but my role is very much behind the scenes.
Is that kind of the line of work you want to eventually be involved in? It's like an NGO, or what is your kind of like? Do you have a goal or perspective that you're looking, like aiming towards, or is it more just kind of where you end up?
It changes from time to time, but right now, like I really am focused, and I've kind of redirected my trajectory, I feel like, and I've got so interested in like wellness, and I guess like for like holistic wellness from a perspective of like physical health, spirituality, like human, like deep human connection, as ways to facilitate just like, I don't know, like progression in society. Like I think creating, I really want to, I would love to have a career where I'm facilitating spaces that allow for those things. So like my one of my dreams right now is to open like a wellness resort, like in the future. And I know that's far down the line, but I'm kind of moving towards that right now. By like in this next year, I'm gonna be traveling South America, and I'm being intentional about like, okay, I want to be volunteering is at as many of these like retreat centers or like healing spaces as possible to like really gain an understanding of that industry, because it's a niche industry that's like not really one that's studied in school. I feel like in a university setting, but still like I feel like so many of the skills in my degree are applicable in that area, and it's all connected, like environmental health and people's feeling of connection to the environment, and like creating spaces where like, you know, and like, I don't know, intentional nature hikes, and like just like creating these experiences that facilitate people to care, like care about the environment, or care about like people they don't know across the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
and
sure.
feel that sense of oneness. Yeah. I'm on my hippie vibes these days.
It's all good. It's all good. You know, that is Guelph. Guelph is very much, I always joke, is very much like a kind of hippie, kind of cool community. And so academically, your background, you went from engineering to like the program that you ended up graduating from the University of Guelph. It's all very kind of like science focused, but then you're also a musician.
Yeah.
Do you find those aspects of your life are like in contrast, or do you think they actually complement each other? Like, do you find you're like,
that's a good
you know,
question.
in school you're actually pulling from experiences as a musician, like, or vice versa, or, you know, that's kind of the music that you're writing is, you know, from a perspective of what you know, what you learned in school.
Yeah. I would, more so than like them feeding off of each other, I feel like I'm someone that has a lot of interests, and so like if I were to just do music, like I would feel unsatisfied in that like I have all these curiosities towards science and like world issues and these kind of things. So I don't feel they play into each other so much, but I feel like they complement each other. Right. But I will say, like my open mic hosting experience really helped with my public speaking abilities. So like when it came to presentations in class, like by the end of my degree, it became more so like, rather than like really have to study a script, it was just like, okay, I'll get my slides, like have a general idea of what I'm talking about, and then I can like riff it off in a way that feels like super fresh. Yeah, it's not like scripted, and that's a skill like I really appreciate that I gained through that experience, and I think it will be applicable in my career for sure.
Yeah. I think like communication and presentation skills are a really underrated skill that I think the arts does a really good job kind of facilitating, because anything you do, you need to communicate it to someone, whether it's just a one-on-one, you know, Zoom call, whether it's a big board meeting. At some point you have to sell your ideas, true. And you need to have a bit of that performative element to it to make it like, successful. Well, I know by the sounds of it, you're a pretty busy guy, so I don't want to keep you too long. Is there anything we didn't talk about your experience at the University of Guelph that you really want to touch on, or like? Yeah, I mean, I feel like I should share a little bit about the job I'm doing right now, just as like, because it's pretty involved in what I studied. So right now I'm working at an environmental engineering firm called Espernette and Associates, and their main role basically has, for the past decade, has been building water treatment infrastructure for First Nation communities, and that's something that's like really near and dear to my heart, and something that I can get behind and be passionate about, and like feel like fueled towards like contributing to this work. And although like I'm very, very much a junior and like don't always feel like I'm contributing in the most, you know, impactful way, it's nice to be part of a team that's like doing this work and really cares about it, and getting the opportunities to like go to some First Nation reserves and like talk to chief and council and be in those rooms has been like quite eye-opening for me, as like a descendant of settler Canadians. Yeah, and that's an opportunity I got through like a connection in my personal life, and I definitely would recommend like when you're starting, like lean into those connections. Yeah, like, I think every job I've ever got has been a connection. Yeah, it was never just a random application. It was like someone I knew and they knew someone. Do you find in your role now that like you felt well prepared? Like, do you find that your program helped prepare you for the work you're doing now?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I feel like for sure. I definitely think there's something to say about, like, when you start any job, you're going to be bad at it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for people, like, first years or people going into their first co-op role to remember, because I remember going to my first co-op, and it was at the same company. And I just, like, literally had an existential crisis after it. I was just like, what? I feel like so useless.
Yeah.
Like, why, like.
Imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm doing well in school, but I feel like I'm just like incompetent at this job that I'm doing. But every job takes time to get good at. And you just gotta be patient with yourself. And
yeah, it is always different being in the workplace, right? Like learning about it in the classroom is a very controlled setting, but then when you get into the workplace, it's never quite the same. And maybe you didn't sleep that well the night before, or maybe you don't have as much time as you would like, or you skipped lunch, and so you're dealing with all that and then trying to execute. So, but yeah, it's a good point to always ask for help. Just like ask a question,
Yeah. Like, you don't have to be afraid. Like, they know you're new. They know you're fresh into the industry. So people are usually very willing to help.
Yeah.
And they want to help. Like, it feels good to see the young person, like, in the room and give them guidance. And,
well, I mean, they took on this co-op student, right? It's in their best interest to make sure that they come out with a positive experience, right?
Definitely. And I think that one other thing I'll say to people is, like, the University of Guelph is really good for like financial support, like funding opportunities like grants and scholarships. Like, the applying to those has been so helpful to me. Like, that's what has partially made the opportunities like going to Uganda possible. And like, whether you are like in a place where you're applying to bursaries and have financial need, or you're just like, maybe you're crushing in your classes and you don't like necessarily need, like, you have the financial support, but it's still great to apply because it's really good experience. Like, the questions they ask to help you to like reflect on yourself, and like you never know where it will like could lead you. And I've been really blessed, like, over the last 2 years to receive, like, from U of G, I think upwards of $10,000 in like bursaries and like need-based awards and scholarships, which has been huge, like huge for me.
So you would recommend the University of Guelph?
Yes,
yeah, for sure.
100%.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
No, it's great to hear. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today and sharing your story with our audience. If you like what you heard, please do like and subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. We try and release a new episode every week. You can find us on all our socials. If you want more info about the University of Guelph, you can visit uguelph.ca. Again, thank you so much. And our theme music is by Paige Rutledge. I have to say that. She's also a Guelph grad. But again, thank you so much. Thanks for listening.